Greetings, everyone. My name is Reverend Jonathan R. Whitfield. I'm one of the college chaplains here at Berea College, and I'm sitting here today with student chaplain Delphine Macombo and the Mayor of Richmond, Kentucky, Mayor Reverend Robert Blythe. So, Mayor Blythe, we're grateful to have you in the studio today. And being here at Berea College, we definitely want to thank you for being our first chapel speaker for the semester. It was very invigorating, and we're thankful to have you. So, one of the main things we want to start this semester is interviewing our speakers and really getting their thoughts and getting their opinions on just a whole lot of stuff. And the fact that you're a mayor and a minister and a reverend, we thought it would be great to start off with you. First questions for you is, what inspired you to get into ministry and politics? Which came first? Probably ministry, but which came first, ministry or politics for you?
Actually, ministry did, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and to share in this first session of this type. But it was ministry because I've known about my, let me say it as the elders may say, my ministerial leanings. From the time I was 9 years old. I knew there was something going on inside me. I was always in church, Sunday school and all that. And then when I turned 13, I don't know what was magically going on with me then, but whatever it was increased. And I knew through my teen years that the Lord was calling me to ministry. At the age of 31, however, I found out specifically He was calling me to preaching ministry. And I do make that distinction because all who are in Christ are ministers. We're to serve, and as you mentioned, serving the campus and so on. But He does too call specifically. There are certain things He wants certain ones to do. So I said no.
Like many of us, yeah.
As if I really believed it made a difference when He was calling. I said, oh no, I said, this is what I said. Lord, I know You can find somebody else who's much better than I am. He wouldn't leave me alone.
Kept bothering you.
So here we are. Now, the politics connection, and I think they are not mutually exclusive as some people want to make them. There's tremendous opportunity to serve through political office. Even if one is not elected to office, there's tremendous opportunity to serve people, because that's what it's about, to serve people, even as an elected official. And let's not get into this separation of church and state thing.
Yeah, church and state.
You know, service. You can give service, you can be compassionate, you can be kind, and it doesn't matter, again, whether you're elected to office or not. You can be compassionate and kind and desire the best for people.
Yes, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I know here, there's a class here at Berea College called, I think it's called Emerging Adulthood. And from my understanding, it explores, young adults in college as they come into adulthood and finding out who they are and their path and their passion. So my question with that is, what advice would you have to the students who are really just finding themselves? Some of them are leaving the religion their parents taught them or they grew up with. Some of them coming to their own. Some of them, the title of your sermon today was The Long Way Around, how God loves us the long way around.
Yes.
Some of the students will leave their parents' religion, the embedded theology, go around the world symbolically just to come back to it. So what advice do you have for the student who is just trying to find themselves, find faith, find God, and they just don't know where to turn, and it all seems like so much?
Now, two things you just said. One, and let me go to the latter of the two, about don't know where to turn. I try to encourage young people, find a loving, caring adult that you feel you can really trust in many, many ways. Trust that they will tell you what is good and what is right. Trust that they will protect you if they sense that there's something that could harm you, that you can trust. And then try not to be reluctant or afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. They told me back.
Because I know in growing up, it took a long time for me to ask some of the questions that were key to who I was. But I was afraid.
Yeah. That's it.
And I was afraid because, back to what I said first, I was afraid because I started telling myself, they won't understand what I'm talking about. And if I expose this about my thinking, that it's different from my parents thinking about religion and faith and all, they won't like me afterwards, or they'll talk about me afterwards, or they'll condemn me. Find a loving, caring adult that you feel you can trust, even if they have to earn that trust. But there's a reason for that. Because you cannot, and we cannot, and will not go through this world by ourselves.
That's right. What's that quote from Martin Luther King? No man is an island, entirety of itself.
That's right.
I think about it often.
Put into a song. Yes, indeed. No man is an island. And so no matter how fearful or reluctant we are to seek what we're trying to determine, or what will help us determine whatever it is we're trying to determine, we have to find. If we're going to survive, we don't really have any choice. So find someone, and certainly find a peer that you feel you can trust. Someone who's closer to where you are age-wise, background-wise, whatever. Because if we don't find a way to share the things that are most important to us as they build up in us, one day we'll explode. So we've got to find an outlet. There's an older preacher, now deceased, who used to talk about the days when he was growing up and then his early adult years. And he talked about this thing called a pop-off valve. Now you'll relate to this after I tell you what he meant. He said he noticed that his mother, when she was cooking those things like greens and green beans and some other things, would always use this thing, pressure cooker.
Oh man, that pressure cooker.
And the pressure cooker had that little thing on top that bounced around as the steam caused it to. He called it a pop-off valve. He said, and God has given us a pop-off valve. You know, men have said, it's not manly to cry. Men don't cry and all that kind of madness. Don't you let anybody say that madness. Jesus wept.
That's it. And it's simple.
So he has given us that pop-off valve so that when the pressure builds, even a manly man can cry, because that's in our design. A lot of guys think it's embarrassing. No. It says you've got a tender heart and that you're compassionate when you can let go enough to cry.
Amen to that. You know, that's real too, because as a professional chaplain here at the school, I do talk to a lot of different students, talk to a lot of male students, and they sometimes express those things. And what's inspiring to me, I tell them all the time, even if they don't feel comfortable talking to me, this is why we have student chaplains, and Delphine is one of our student chaplains, and he talks to a lot of students. They'll come to him, sometimes they won't come to me, which is fine, because just like you said, they found somebody they trust. So Delphine, can you speak to that sometimes you talk to...
And excuse me, and it isn't that they don't trust you. I often tell the men, especially in my church, there are those you can reach that I cannot.
That's right.
Excuse me for interrupting you. Go ahead, Delphine.
Yeah, that's right.
For me, I think I have a big question that I want to ask you.
Yes.
Before I go to what Reverend was talking about. It's like, how do you balance ministry and your job as a mayor? Because, and how can you connect that with us here in campus doing ministry and also school? How can you connect that?
Now, the interesting thing for me, because that's not an unusual question, the interesting thing is there are people citizens of Richmond. There are those who are not even citizens of Richmond, but are somewhere in Madison County, Fayette County even, who will come to me through my office as mayor and ask me to pray for them or pray with them. And I always say this, well, because I acknowledged my call to preach in 1980, and I say, well, to the people of Richmond, you knew what I was when you elected me. Yeah. Surely you don't expect me to change now. So people will come to City Hall and say, a man brought his son, teenage son, and he said, Mayor, because the gentleman himself was one of my former high school students many years ago. And he said, Mayor, my son's in trouble. Would you please pray with us?
That's powerful.
See, and I always say to myself, what are they going to do? Throw me out?
Right.
A friend of mine says I've been thrown out of better places than this and by better people.
That's what they elected.
But yes, indeed. So it wasn't really a matter for me, because there were people who knew that I'd been pastor at the church, not from the days when I first met the Lord, but pastor. I'd been pastor since 1981. So they knew me as pastor. I didn't run for office till 2002. Now they do say, now, what do I call you? Do I call you? Do I call you Reverend Blythe? Call you? I just call. You can call me brother. Those who've known me you can call me Robert. I'm not offended. You can call me, if you want to use both, Reverend Mayor. I'll give priority to my ordination in my faith. But it is amazing. Therefore, there are times when I'm called upon to give the invocation in a lot of public meetings. But I've got to tell you about this one, if we have time. Back during COVID, in one of the meetings of mayors and county judge executives, we were doing it Zoom, of course. The mayor of one of the cities, I won't call his name, in the Bluegrass area, as we got ready to close out, because the cities were struggling, everybody was struggling.
It was a tough time, yeah.
And this mayor friend of mine, as we had finished all of our business, said, Mr. Chairman, we're having a board meeting, Mr. Chairman, I believe that the only answer to this situation is God himself. Now, this is a meeting of, and I want to talk to you about being a politician. I'm not a politician. But the only help we can get will come from God. He said, so if no one objects, remember this is mayors and county judges. He said, if no one objects, I want to ask Mayor Robert Blythe to close us with prayer. He wasn't even from my city.
Man.
I said, I don't object, Mr. Chair, if there is no objection. That's the way I present myself. Now, if you don't want, I'm not going to force you to talk about God. I'm not going to force you to talk about your faith. But if you are a person of faith, I would expect to see something out of you. Like an old preacher said once, he said, people talk about something got all over me and ran all over me. And the preacher said, well, it must have run right on out, because folks talk about from my head to my feet, right. The Holy Spirit, and he said, it must have run right on out, because I ain't seen nothing out of him yet.
Man.
But yeah. So I just expect folks, be who you are.
Yes.
That's it. Be who you are. I have to tell you this. In our commission meetings, we begin with prayer. We got contacted by the ACLU. So what we do now is we don't print invocation on the agenda for the public. It's on the ones that we're using at the desk. Invocation is given, pledge, and then I rap the gavel and call the meeting to order. Do you get the difference?
I see.
Which means the invocation was not in the meeting.
Right, it's before. Yeah, it was before it happened.
technicality. But let me stop. But because I love to talk about it. There are folks who will ask. There are young people. I want to inspire young people of faith to go into public service. I'm a public servant and I am an elected official. I am not a politician. The word politician is connotative. Yeah. Means, got your hand in somebody's pockets or somebody's back. No, none of that stuff. And I pay for, don't take this wrong, my own campaigns. Nobody buys me in an election. Now, there are sometimes little old ladies who will say, Reverend, I want to give you $10 for you, buy your signs. Oh, sister, thank you. She didn't want a job. She ain't trying to buy her. There you go. She just wants to make sure my campaign goes well. Yeah. And I would not deny her that opportunity. But if you came up to me with a couple of thou, I'm thinking, he's got a son that needs a job. I
need you to do something.
He's got a business. He's got a business. He wants the city to do business. Yeah. Those kinds of things. So I'm not a politician. And I love what I do. Yeah, I love what I do.
And speaking on that, we have a lot of students who want to get into like politics and run for offices and different things, but they don't know where to start. What would your advice be to those students who feel the call to do something, but they feel like they step into something that's just so large just a drop in the bucket?
I love the question, because the first thing is recognize that you are in politics by virtue of the fact, vote. Make your voice heard, even if the numbers on your side are in the minority. Vote. Because I tell folks when they come to me and ask certain kinds of things, I'm like, oh, did you vote in the last election? Not for me, but did you vote in the last election? Well, no, I was, well, then you don't ask me for anything. Now, I can't really do that.
Can't say it, but
I can say it, because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Now you're asking me when you did not even help to influence the outcome. You're asking me to take what I've now worked to do and use it for you. Now, do I sound like I'm getting a little?
No, it's real, because it's a passionate thing. Because we were in a time of very volatile time.
What I would tell them, first of all, then, make yourself a part of society. Join something that's doing something that's good. It might be a service organization in your community. It might be, as was mentioned in the introduction, NAACP. I was president of the Madison County branch 20 years. Find something about which you can be passionate. I mean, you gotta have something in here for something.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say with all of the issues before us, because one of my issues now, after having been in elected office for 23 years, I'm trying to find young people who would like to consider running for public office. It is hard, because the question I would often get, why would anybody want to do that? See, because it means giving. I mean, give, sacrifice. When I could be sitting watching a ball game, being in a meeting where we're determining whether or not this side of town is going to get this kind of curbing, improvement of their street. Get something that you're passionate about. And consider not just sitting back and letting others do it and shoving them.
Don't be a bystander.
But that's right. Consider getting into the game yourself.
Yes. Yeah, one more comment for I know you got another question.
I'm sorry. You got me started.
No, it's great stuff, because I live in Atlanta. I'm from South Carolina.
Yes.
But I lived in Atlanta for about 15 years.
Another of my favorite cities.
And I did what you said. I tried to run for public office, and I didn't win. And at the time I ran, I didn't know that my district was the hardest district to run in the entire city. I didn't know that. Had I known that, I don't know if I would have did it. But I learned so much in that process.
And excuse me, interrupting you. And I'll tell you something else that came out of that. Somebody who didn't know you learned your name.
They did. I gained so much knowledge of how the process works
That's
and this
it.
and that. And I even joined somebody else's campaign who was
Yes.
and they actually won. And I learned from them, and I was excited. But I was thinking about, had I not just threw my hat in the race, I would never even know I could.
That's right.
Because I got some punches in, and I learned some things I could do. I said, hey, wait a minute, I can do this. Because we was on TV and everything, like an interview. And I was doing good. I said, Mama, look at me.
Yes.
But it was great. And like you said, I encourage anybody to just start, just put your foot out there, man. See where it goes. You never know.
You never know.
But
When I ran, first time, I lost by 11 votes.
Man, that's...
Yes. But I said, okay, Robert, okay. The Old Testament, Old English says, so gird up your loins, get back in there.
Get back in there, yep.
Because 11, 12 votes are somewhere.
Hey, something, you can get that.
And I found them, and that's why I got upset. Because, the books are public. You can go back and see who voted. Not how they voted, but you can tell who signed in to vote. When I saw 50 people that I knew who didn't even vote, one of the guys said, but Blythe, oh, you got it, man, you got it. Not unless you vote.
I ain't gotta, you gotta help me get it.
That's it. So, getting beyond that, but encouraging young people, supporting them, and to get into a race takes a little money, depends on what the race is. But, give them a few dollars here and there and help them and get them to the places where people can meet them.
Yes.
Because folks, as I was saying, need to know your name. You know who you are. What do you stand for? Talk to us. Tell us some things that are of interest to you.
Yes.
Why do you want to run? That's the big question. Why do you want to run? And it was after I'd been elected that I got a call from the the Human Resources Office of our city. And they said, we need you to come by. I said, what for? They said, fill out some paperwork. I said, what kind of paperwork? They said, for your check. Check? You mean I get a check?
I get a check for this?
That's statutory. That's in the statutes. But I wasn't thinking about that. I thought, I get to have fun and get a check too.
Come on now. That's it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. What's the next question, Delphine?
Another question that I have is about ministry.
Yes.
So you said that you when you were 9 years old, you felt that you have something in you. So, but when you were 31 years old,
31,
that's when you heard from God. So, what can you tell people or us too who has been hearing from God, but the vision that God has given is very big? What can you tell us, and what can you advise?
All right.
In that process.
Okay. I've got a question for you. How do you eat an elephant?
Little by little.
Smart man.
Yeah, it is.
One bite at a time.
Yes.
And if your vision, broad, one bite at a time, identify something, here's the whole vision, something within that vision that's doable. I can do this. And because I get this done, there's something contiguous over there. There's something right beside it. And doing this, I can get this done too. Or I can get a couple of folks to come join with me, and we can get this done.
Yes.
But within, there's this, and that elephant that you were eating, one bite at a time, or that project that you want to undertake, one bite at a time. I wanted to do a couple of things in Richmond. And I realized, well, Robert, you can't just stand out here and get it done. The first thing you need to do is let folks know you want to do it.
That's it.
And then put yourself in the places where you can get folks to join you. It may be groups, it may be a group you have to form yourself of people who are like-minded. That's what things are, like-minded people. Why do you think this bunch of folks is in the studio? Because they are interested in production.
Yep.
Like-minded. Why are you in ministry, campus ministry? Because you're like-minded. And you find some more like-minded folks, and you will discover there are more than you realize there are.
Yeah,
but you've got to make known who you are, what you're about, what you want. Join some groups. Okay? I mean, I'm sure there are lots of campus groups, opportunities to meet people. Because if you're going to go into ministry, I had a 4-year-old great niece who asked me one day, Uncle Robert, why do you always say duh? Well, duh. Ministry is about people.
It is.
Even the Old Testament passage I used today, it was about God's people. Moses, I didn't ask you if you wanted to do it, Moses. Get on out there. But this is what I want you to do. It's about my people and how God can use you for his people. And as mayor, I also have to remember it isn't only about God's people. It's about everybody in this town.
Yes.
But you discover that if you are who you say you are and you let the world know and let the light shine, there are those who may not have been on your side who will come on over because they see who you are.
See the vision.
And they like what they see.
Yes.
And then more of your vision has been achieved. Oh, yeah. And more of it, yeah.
Little by little.
Because what I discovered was it's not just about Robert and what Robert can do.
Yes.
It's about that passage. God is busy bringing you to where he wants you to be. Oftentimes, we even as believers go kicking and screaming. I say sometimes God's trying to save us, and we tell him no, fighting it. And,
Right. I did it myself.
but you see, in the church, in local church, there's a song folks sing. See, that old stuff makes sense because the folks who sing, let Jesus lead you, let Jesus lead you, let Jesus lead you all the way.
Come on now.
Hallelujah.
Okay?
Man, you gotta bring it back.
So you say, what you do is you go out under a tree one day. At home, I go out to Lake Reba. We have a lake in one of our parks. I go out to the lake and sit. And this is what I say. I ain't gonna cry. But I say, Lord, you were trying to tell me something yesterday, and because of all of the distractions, I couldn't hear you. Here I am.
That's so powerful.
Now, you tell him, here I am, like little Samuel left with the priest Eli. Middle of the night, he hears a voice. Runs into the priest. Said, did you call me? He said, no. Go back to bed. Goes back. Little Samuel hears that voice again. Runs into the Eli. Said, did you call me? He says, no. The priest, realizing what's happening, said to little Samuel, if you hear that voice again, simply say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. You tell him that. As you're trying to see what to do, which Standing here, old song, standing here wondering which way to go. Tell him, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. A friend of mine the other day, after 43 years, I'll share this publicly, but after 43 years as pastor of the church, I was thinking, now, Lord, you think 43 is enough?
Right.
Pastor friend of mine said, Blythe, I tell you what you do. Just remember, throw out the fleece. Like Gideon, tell the Lord, tomorrow when I get up, I want the fleece to be wet and the ground to be dry. Got up, it was. Like me, so, well, let's try it again. Let's try 2 hours. When I get up in the morning, let's let the fleece be dry and the ground be wet. And it was. God says again, now what else do you want me to do? Just simply tell him, speak, Lord. Your willing servant is listening.
Yes.
Then you let him. Don't put God on a schedule. It took God 17 years to run me down. And I was running too. Yes, indeed. But when I realized that it was closing in on me, I couldn't run anymore.
Yes.
Speak, Lord, for your servant is, you got my attention.
Wow.
I like that because that's very powerful. That's kind of to what you're speaking to. I know definitely has a project that he's going to do next month for the campus dealing with the purpose. And I'll give you the last closing word. Could you just speak in closing? Could you just speak to purpose of the students having purpose in their life, trying to find their purpose while they're here on campus? They're just trying to find their way because the project we're doing is geared towards helping students just find their footing, find their purpose, hear God's voice. So any closing words to just the spirit of purpose for the students?
You said you're a musician.
Yes.
Are you aware that I too am? I music every Sunday at the church. The reason I say that is because I try to encourage in my congregation that parents will encourage and support their young people in taking music lessons if they want. Some choose not to learn to play piano or an organ, or they're uncomfortable. They say, because, Pastor, I can't play like you. Now, this is why I say that. First of all, you're not anybody but you.
Right.
Young people need to come to understand that no matter how much they may envy someone else's abilities, skills, whatever, you're still you. And you need to be the very best you.
That's right.
Not the very best Jimmy or Alicia. No, the very best you. Because God has, as with Moses and all, Paul, God has something specifically for you. And you'll mess up the whole program if you don't do what you're supposed to do. How do you know that, By? The fellas always say, now, stay with the text here. All right.
Stay with the text.
What did Paul tell the Ephesians? He said, this thing, as my pastor would say, is a spiritual body. He said, now back up and look at the physical body that has eyes, a nose, mouth, ears, feet, legs. So should the eye be jealous and upset because it can't do what the ear can do?
Come on now. See where you're going. I love it.
The eye needs to remember and recognize that it's got to do its job.
Come on.
Doesn't matter what the ear does, do what eyes do. Let me bring it to where the rubber meets the road, and I mean it literally. Over in Richmond, folks have been talking all this past several days, folks in Lexington and other places, folks in Berea, how do you all get your streets so clean so fast? I said, we call the whole crew in, they're out all day and all night till they get it done. And then I get in my vehicle and I drive around town and find some of them that's scraping the road or salting. And I stop them and I say this to you, thank you. Because if you did not do what you're doing right now, I couldn't do my job.
Come on.
Folks couldn't get up and go to work. Folks couldn't get to the hospital to be there, to tend to you when you need. Nobody will be at Kroger.
Yeah, but I got an intricate part.
You see? So everyone has to do what that one is destined and supposed to do. And if you don't, you'll mess up the whole thing.
Yes.
Because here you are, ears, mouth, nose, arms, all that, and no eyes.
It's all falls apart.
And don't be envious of anybody's responsibilities. Just do what you're supposed to do. Be who you're supposed to be. Don't worry about others. But don't worry about what they've been asked to do. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Be a good steward of what you've been given to work with.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
We need that. Well, Mayor Blythe, I appreciate that's a good word. We appreciate your time, your energy, and your speaking today at Chapel. It's just much appreciated.
It is an honor.
And you gave us so much to take with, and we're gonna take it and use it and run with it. A couple of those things I'm gonna take the whole eyes and ears thing. I'm gonna use that too.
Yes.
So we just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And for the opportunity. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you.
Pleasure is mine.
All right.
Anytime.